What have we really been distracted from, guys? Over the last 24 hours, I know that you and myself have asked many questions like, hey, what's really going on? What is the purpose of all this unfolding right now? Well, we just came past the whole drone situation. We got into these attackers. Now we're asking ourselves, was this guy really in the car? Speaking of Matthew Livelsberger, was it not him? Was it somebody else? This new footage emerges showing somebody moving in the car, moving their head actively right before the blast actually goes off. Is this him? Was it not? They said that the DNA didn't match his son. His Signal account, if you know anything about Signal, the app, his security number had changed on the 29th of December, a couple days prior to all this happening, a couple days prior to Sean Ryan's guy, Sam Shoemate, saying that he received email correspondence. So was that even him really corresponding with him via email? Was he really texting his group that he normally was as himself? Some people in that group chat say that it wasn't. So what is this really all about? What's happening? Why is this happening? Then on January 2nd, you have Pete Santilli. For those of you who don't know, he's an alternative media person who says in a tweet, he said, "This is the most important and urgent post I've ever made to the public, outlining how Obama is responsible for the upcoming Al-Qaeda-ISIS attack upon America, saying that there's something coming." Okay. And many people have been talking about this, including somebody else who Sean Ryan had on his show before, Sam Shoemate. And we'll speak to that in just a second. But he goes on to say, hey, since 2012, my source Gandalf, who was 3 days on the ground in Benghazi, provided me with documented proof that Obama and Clinton were arming ISIS-Assad fighters in Syria, or anti-Assad ISIS fighters in Syria, rather. He said, I've researched and established the following facts in meticulous detail. And I've also provided sworn testimony affidavit under oath of my knowledge of the evidence that is currently in possession of the CIA's Office Inspector General. He goes on to say, Congress covered up Benghazi. He said, I know it personally because firsthand I delivered 3 audio recordings from 1 CIA and 2 FBI whistleblowers to Dana Chipman, Chief Counsel for Trade Do Nothing Gowdy of the Benghazi Select Committee in October 2015. He goes on to say that Fox News was informed of this. He talks about John Brennan allowing the 9/11 hijackers into the U.S., overriding his assistant station chief in Jeddah. He goes on to talk about so many various things. And he talks about the fact that we need to arrest Clinton now, Comey, he says also Obama, and he says shut down Fort Washington, Maryland now. But for starters, arrest all their minions like Jake Sullivan, he says Samantha Powers, Blinken, and roll them for cooperative testimony. The head of the snake in the global war on terror is Obama and his minions. Even the members of ISIS and Al-Qaeda will be pissed when they realize how compromised their communications are through Fort Washington, Maryland. If anyone wants to know which building the servers are housed in, please let me know. I have it all. This is massive. If you know, you know. If you don't, do your research because this is crazy. The history behind this is insane. So all these things popping up simultaneously. And I'm asking myself once again, what is the distraction? Why the distraction? What are we being kept from? What's behind the curtain that does not want to be revealed? And while we look at all the various things, like what took place on the Sean Ryan show, he said him and his family had to disappear for a few days. And it was going to be this massive breaking information, which ended up being an email that looked like many say, or at least some say, and we're talking about reputable sources are saying, hey, why was an email received by Sam Shoemate have spell check errors and a cursor on the far left-hand side between paragraphs in the middle of the page? Was this put in some type of text editor? Was this doctored up to begin with? Did the fact that his Signal account, speaking of Matthew Livelsberger, since his security number had changed, was this actually him who had sent these correspondence to begin with? Because why would Sean Ryan, an ex-Navy SEAL CIA guy, be terrified to have another CIA, ex-CIA guy on his show to talk about the fact that there's drones from us in China that have mutually assured destruction? About some 2019 war crimes? I mean, Benghazi was insane. We know about that. Nothing's been done there. So what was the real issue? What was the big news that was going to be dropped that was going to cause people to show up at his door and maybe harm his family? Why did he have to disappear? Was that all a hoax? Is this part of some 5th generational warfare option that was going to utilize psychological operations to deceive and manipulate and coerce people? Because as we know, Fifth generation warfare within the tactics of cyber are meant to persuade, deceive, influence. And so while we're out here looking for bombs and planes and people to jump out and parachutes and come down and attack, the real warfare, the battleground is actually right here. And it's being played out right here each and every day because it's able to get directly into here. And so when we see these things taking shape, we are subscribed and involved in an active warfare situation. Fifth generation being psychological operations. You're talking about sixth generation being AI and technology, and then even seventh and beyond being, biologics and so forth that can go even further, and probably stuff that we don't even know about. But the ultimate thing is, there's an active operation that's being carried out right now. And I fear that what's happened is that the success of that operation is gripping our attention to focus on things that truly don't matter in respect to the things behind the curtain that are truly going on. And while this is happening, interestingly enough, Hillary Clinton, George Soros, Denzel Washington, and various other people, even Jose Andres, who was pictured multiple times with the person, Mr. Ryan Routh, the second Trump assassin, or who committed the attempt at Mar-a-Lago. He was pictured with this guy, but these guys are in the White House receiving the presidential award? Are you kidding me? So what's really taking place here? Why are they getting medals of freedom? And what are we truly being distracted from? So I want to remind you of a commercial that some of you have seen, some of you haven't. And it gives us some insight and reminds us back again what types of things in terms of capability that our military has access to and will carry out. You think Jason Bourne was bad? There's people within our departments, whether it be within the actual military, whether it be mercenaries, whether it be private ops groups, private interest groups, firms, contract companies for hire that employ the best of the best around the world, who utilize these mechanisms of warfare and tactical strategy to manipulate, coerce on a different level. So while we are looking for a physical warfare, it's actually being carried out psychologically and through other means to go under the skin, to get into your brain, to get into your emotions, to do various things without your knowledge, and you are participating and actively engaged in warfare. You are frontline on the battlefield. And if you don't realize this now, it's going to be too late for you to pick up your weapon and be able to strike back while you still have a chance. So I want you to watch this for a quick moment. And then I want you to comment, depending on which platform you're watching this. And I want you to tell me what you think. What's your opinion? What are we being distracted from and why? And what does this tell you that you didn't know before or maybe that you forgot? So pay close attention for just a couple of moments and let me know. Watch this.
As the world watches and listens in horror, the peaceful pro-democracy demonstration in China comes to a violent and bloody end.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Wolves hiding nearby, whispering do or die around me. You say your last good night while I begin
is another very important phase of warfare. It has as its target not the body, but the mind of the enemy.
The target of psychological warfare is against the enemy's mind.
It is words and ideas.
The ammunition used by Psywar.
Its mission is to influence the thoughts of the enemy soldier, and at the same time
is expected and encouraged to study foreign languages and the social sciences such as history, economics, and sociology. He must have a broad and sympathetic understanding of all phases of human experience.
Gripping at my skin, the walls of night closing.
but the use of this force as an integral part of combat has now taken on new form.
As I wait to say my last goodbye.
These are the Psywar soldiers.